Right, good evening, everyone. It is that time of the week again. It is Game Week 7 on the Premier League review show. As always, I am your host, Kallum Stubbs97, and I am the official host now because Harry has given me the job. So I now get to pester Louis all season. It's brilliant. We're part of Harry's team. So let's go around. We're with Louis already. So how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for having me on, and happy to be here, I guess.
Lovely stuff. And Tony, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you. Not too bad. Thanks for having me on again.
Lovely stuff. And Barney, you seem to be getting stuck with me every week now, mate. How you doing?
It's good to be stuck with you, Kallum, and thank you for having me on. And it's good to talk with you all tonight.
Lovely stuff. Brilliant. Right, so let's jump straight into it. So it's 12:30 on Saturday, just gone, and we go to Selhurst Park, where the game did end 1-0 Liverpool. It wasn't the most pretty game. It wasn't the most glamorous, but it did start off very well. So, Barney, as a Londoner, I'm going to throw it out to you, mate. What did you make of this game?
I watched some of it on Match of the Day. Didn't get all of it, to be honest. But Liverpool continued their impressive start to the season. You know, they scored a 6th successive victory. So they're on good form. I mean, Crystal Palace obviously will be a bit disappointed. You know, they had that injury, didn't they? Alisson, was it? Went off with an injury, if I recall.
You did.
Is that right?
Yeah, it is right.
Yeah, I thought I saw that. Yeah, I think at home, Palace are always tough to play against. Liverpool, you know, you expect them to be up there at the top of the table. I mean, they haven't exactly, in my opinion, had a tough start, if you like. They've played teams that you'd expect them to get points against. I mean, they're up there at the top of the table, 18 points, played 7. So they'll be happy with that. I mean, obviously they've got the bigger teams still to come. You always think at 1-0, Palace, they can easily get back in there. They've got players who can hurt you, obviously. And I thought as the game went on, wasn't it Eddie had a strike disallowed for offside? I think there was a chance. I saw that. Alisson, I think, was twice called in the second half to make saves, if I recall.
Yeah, and Nketiah sort of had the chances throughout the day, but I think he's probably going to be quite disappointing, to say the least. He definitely had some real issues with it, to be honest, throughout the day. I thought I saw from the commentary.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I think overall Liverpool will be pleased with that. Keeping a clean sheet away from home is always tricky against the London side. Yeah, I think they'll be happy with that. Good win for Liverpool. Palace need to improve.
Okay. Tony, let me bring you in on this one, mate. Obviously, Barney's referred to Alisson going off injured during that game, and I believe it was I don't know whether it was their young goalkeeper who came in, but it was at least their second on the day, because Kelleher was out injured already from all being around sources. So they brought on Vitislav Joros. I mean, what a one to throw you in at the deep end on that one, isn't it? For your Premier League debut, Alisson goes off injured. Don't really take much more than that, does it?
Not really, no. I mean, the guy must have been nervous as heck to come on, but what can you do? You haven't got your number 1 and your number 2's injured as well. So obviously Liverpool will now be hoping that one of them will be back by the time the Premier League comes back again, or else they might be forced to play this youngster again. Obviously they have confidence in pushing him in there because, they say we plays week in, week out for probably the reserve team. But yeah, it was a strange one, but I didn't see the game, to be fair. But by all accounts, Liverpool scraped it. You could have you could have quite happily gone and put a 3-0 bet on Liverpool winning that game 3-0. But, overall it looked to be like a struggle for them, rather than a stroll in the park. But the thing is, I've always said it doesn't matter how you win a game. It's as long as you get that 3 points. That's what it is at the end of the day. If you win 1-0, like I've always said, I don't care if Newcastle win 1-0 and it comes off the opposition keeper's backside in the 95th minute, it's 3 points. It's called winning ugly. And, Arsenal used to do it years ago under George Graham, and that didn't. So they used to win ugly, and that's what's about, getting the 3 points. So I don't think, to be fair, that Liverpool will be mourning too much, because they're sitting top of the tree, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Liverpool are picking up them crucial points, even when they're not playing well at the moment. Slot does seem to be grinding out those wins. So, Louis, from your point of view, mate, obviously Palace have been not great this year, have they? They haven't really shown up. I think everyone's been questioning them the last couple of weeks, and the losses they have been not in the greatest of fashion. And I mean, someone like Jota for Liverpool, you can't give him a yard of space and all that because he scores. But apparently Palace weren't actually that bad this time around. What did you think?
No, they weren't. They gave Liverpool a really good game, I think. Although Liverpool definitely were the better team, I feel. I mean, it wasn't a Liverpool rollover. Palace were definitely giving them a hard time, and they had their moments in the game. They had a bit when they were on top a little bit. Definitely in the 60th minute when Jean-Philippe Mateta come on, he made a real impact. Obviously, Palace players feeding him the ball a lot and him trying to get a few shots off. But in the end, it wasn't to be for Palace. I thought they put up a valiant effort, but Liverpool were just too strong, really. They're showing that even with a really limited transfer window they just had, with only Chiesa really coming in, they've still got that core, and they've still really can push on and do well this season. But no, I feel like Palace fans will be probably a little bit concerned because of the back of last season. They were doing so well when Glasner originally came in. They were doing brilliant. They were high flying up the league table, and I think loads of us came into this season going, "Oh, they could even push for European spots." But now it's they've only got 3 points.
No,
all three of them being draws.
Definitely. Exactly, mate. And that's the problem. I think, from my point of view, I think Glasner's probably feeling a little bit delicate about his job at the moment, but realistically, he could turn it around. So there's definitely a chance there. So let's jump to our first 3 o'clock kickoff of the day, and we're going to go to Louis and mine's favourite place. Somewhere where it doesn't belong in North London. It does belong in the South. It is a South Coast club. Well, ironically, they play a South Coast club. So let's go to the Emirates. Tony, if I can bring you in on this one. So very cagey game to start off with for Arsenal Southampton. Southampton actually did hold the Emirates to... Southampton did hold them to quite a nice, tidy result at half time for them, being 0-0. It was quite dead up until then, and Saints actually did take the lead. And I did get a text from one of my mates who is a Saints fan going, "We're going to do it, you guys can't." And then obviously it did go on from there. So talk me through that first half, because it was very dead, weren't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I kept looking at the scores thinking, Arsenal nils, Southampton nils still. And I'm thinking, I had them down. I had Arsenal down on the 6 to win 3-0, if I'm honest. And I was really shocked that it was still 0-0 at half time, because thinking, hang on, the quality Arsenal's got compared to Southampton, this should be well ahead, I know we struggled against Southampton first game of the season, but we had 10 men as well. But yeah, it was a strange one, because Southampton, look, they've looked okay, but they haven't really been too threatening. Like against Man United, they were, they missed the penalty, which ultimately cost them the game, really. So, they're a team that start off well, but then they just seem to they can't put their chances away. So I was kind of shocked at half time it was still 0-0. You know, the likes of Saka on the pitch and Havertz, you know, and Rice. I thought, oh, they'll be ahead here. But then second half coming, everything just took over from there, didn't it? Because obviously Cameron Archer obviously put Southampton ahead, which I suppose to some people was a bit of a shock, although it was only a short-lived lead for 3 minutes. Havertz scoring the equaliser, then obviously Martinelli 10 minutes later, and then Saka 20 minutes later to finish it off 3-1. So you could say probably the result was fair, 3-1 at the end of the day. You expect Arsenal to win this game. Maybe the goal going behind was a wake-up call for them, and they thought, right, okay, we need to get going, yeah. But yeah, I was shocked. I mean, if Southampton had won that 1-0, I would have, you know, yes, I would have been shocked by it, but I wouldn't have been shocked at the same time because, you know, I've seen Southampton play some decent games, but they just don't seem to be able to finish their chances, and that's the problem, I think. And I think that's why Southampton will definitely go straight back down this year.
No, I completely appreciate that, mate. So, Louis, I'm going to come over to you with this one. Obviously, this is the second game that Arsenal have had in a row against promoted teams from the Championship. So they've had Southampton and they had Leicester before as well, and they haven't looked entirely comfortable. Yes, they have steamrolled the games in large parts, and they have won respectively 4-2 and 3-1. But there does seem to be a growing trend that they do seem to be conceding quite a few goals to teams that they probably are expected to beat. Obviously, I'm asking you as a neutral on this one, not as a rival fan. What are you thinking is causing these lapses in judgment, these mistakes that are coming through as well, mate?
As a neutral fan, I could probably pinpoint it down to well, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just switching off. I think maybe players have looking at it, thinking, licking their lips. It's Southampton. You know, when Man United used to say, "Oh, well, it's only Spurs lads," but they've got Arsenal in the dressing room going, "Oh, it's only Southampton lads." So then maybe they weren't. Maybe they just weren't up to it as maybe Southampton. Well, I don't know, but obviously there's in games as in all games really, you get like moments of switching off, moments of lack of concentration. I don't think I think Gabriel had a pretty poor game against Southampton. I think people might back me up on that. I don't know, but I think I definitely went for maybe not a weaker lineup, but maybe a bit interesting because I saw Thomas Partey play a lot of the game at right back. Raheem Sterling getting his first start, a bit maybe not really makeshift, but just a little bit, not full strength Arsenal. Maybe he's already thinking that it's only Southampton, we can roll these lot over, but it wasn't really that case. Although you look at the stats and they had about 30 shots, but I mean it's definitely a bit of a weird one. But yeah, maybe Arsenal and all what they're cracked up to be. Hopefully.
No, I appreciate that, mate. And Barney, I'm going to come to you with just a one-word answer I want on this one. You've obviously advocated that most likely Southampton are going down this season. They probably will go straight back down. Are they still odds on to go down for you, mate?
2 words, most definitely.
Oh, love that one. Love that one. Right.
I can just add one more thing too.
Go for it.
We'll probably lose to them in December.
Oh, I know Spurs will. We'll either lose to them or we'll probably concede at least 2 goals for them. They'll probably get their shooting boots in that game. So I know that me and Louis will be very much disappointed that one there. Right. So, Barney, if I'm going to stick with you, we'll go to West London now to Brentford Wolves. This one actually turned out to be quite a cracker, to be honest.
You know
8 goals. What's going on, mate?
I was talking to actually Harry about this, and it just seemed to be a weekend when defences forgot to play. They just didn't turn up. Who'd have thought this? I mean, Brentford scoring after 2 minutes again. You know, is that a record now? Was it 4 games now they scored within the first 2 minutes? So I don't know what they're saying. I don't know what Thomas Frank's saying before the start, but this game had everything. I mean, Ivan Toney, who's Ivan Toney? They've got the goals. I mean, they're scoring for fun at the moment. So I actually know a few Brentford fans, and I wouldn't. If I was a Wolves fan, I'd generally be walking away with that thinking, you score 3 goals away from home, you want to get something, don't you? I mean, Wolves are another side who have surprised me in a wrong way, because I genuinely did not envisage them, to be where they are in the table. What, are they bottom now? So it's a real shock. It really is. I actually thought they'd finish about mid-table, if I'm brutally honest with you, because they've got some good players in there, but it's just not clicking this season. Brentford are where I expect them to be, 11th currently. They've had a really good start, Like us, they're a team evolving. And they sort of, they found their kind of slot, if you like. Granted, 8-goal thriller, some really standout performances. I thought Collins was good. That Wolves player who scored into the 3rd goal, I think, in injury time. I can't remember his name. What's his name?
Nori.
Oh,
that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. Sorry,
Nori, the one they got
him
from Leon.
But I just look at Wolves, Kallum, and think, okay, you've got something about you can score, but why are you where you are? I mean, what's gone wrong for Wolves? That should be the question. Brentford, terrific.
Yeah, no, I completely appreciate that, mate. And Tony, obviously, Barney was ecstatic about that game. I mean, to be fair, it's great seeing all these goals, but I mean, these guys couldn't even defend their own dinners, could they? At the back, to be honest, they were ridiculous. I appreciate seeing all these goals is great, but I mean, it shows a complete lack of defensive awareness. If you have these goal thrillers up there, it's just purely attack, isn't it? And no one else caring what goes on at the back, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a cracking game for the neutral, let's be honest. Again, like you say, Brentford are scoring early again. Don't know what, like you say, Thomas Frank's telling them, when they go out. They scored in the 2nd minute, and then obviously they equalised 2 minutes later in the 4th minute through Cunha. It's just, but again, Brentford are on fire this season. They are really on fire, especially Mbemo. He's playing really well, Mbemo. I don't think they're missing Ivan Toney one bit. In fact, if I'm honest with you, we are looking at Brentford, they're probably better off without Ivan Toney. And people had them down as strugglers for the season, with Ivan Toney obviously going to Saudi Arabia. But it's been the total opposite. They've been absolutely on fire. It wouldn't surprise me if Brentford finish in the top half of the table this season. I'm not saying they'll finish in European place, although you never know, they could sneak into 7th. But, the way they're playing, there's going to be a lot of teams out there who won't be happy about playing them. I thought they did really well. But again, 8 goals, it's like, your defending's not there, is it, between two teams? Wolves are having a shocker this season. I didn't think for 1 minute they'd be near where they are now at the bottom of the table. But I think, Gary O'Neill seems quite an okay manager. And I'm sure he could turn it around, but he's going to have to turn that around rather quickly, because if not, I think he'll be out the door soon from Wolves. But what was I say for the neutral? It's a cracking game for the neutral, 8 goals. Not a great game if you're a Wolves fan or a Brentford fan, because it's to and fro, isn't it? But it's bum twitching time. But at the end of the day, obviously the better team won, Brentford. But if you're a Wolves team, or a Wolves fan, you'd be screaming, saying, "Well, hang on, we've scored 3 goals, but we've still not got a result out of this." And it is. It's heartbreaking for teams like that. We've been on the receiving end many a times when we've been winning games and then we lose them 4-3, back in the 90s twice with Liverpool. So, we know what it's like when you score 3 goals away from home and you think you should have the game wrapped up. But it never always happens that way.
Oh, don't worry. We know that feeling, mate. We know that feeling, and we will cover that later on. So, Louis, we're going to jump to the Midlands there, mate. We're going to go to Leicester. We're going to go to the King Power Stadium against Bournemouth, and that ended in a lowly 1-0 win for Leicester. Can you talk me through that? Because it looks like it was a Brighton loanee who scored for them, so it's not even their own player and all that. And I've been really impressed with Bournemouth the last couple of weeks. I thought they've been really good, and for them to go against a struggling Leicester team and lose 1-0, it's not great, is it?
No, this game was a real ding dang do, I think, because I mean I don't really how I know I can explain to someone how Bournemouth was such the better team that game, and yet they lost 1-0. Because stats wise, they had 19 shots, they had I think it was a 2.1 xg. They were by far the better team. They completely dominated that game, and yet they lost 1-0. I don't really know how I can explain it. I mean that's prime Steve Cooper ball for you. I think that's a plan, great plan executed. That is, Jose Mourinho would love that. But, yeah, I mean, I was quite shocked. I mean, I thought Bournemouth would by far win that game. I think I really enjoy watching Bournemouth. I think they're a great watch. I think Iriola's doing really well down there. And when I saw it was 1-0, I was like, well, what's going on there then? Surely Leicester's pulled a blinder. You look at the stats, you look at highlights and go, no, they've pulled the Mourinho. So yeah, I mean, why not Leicester get their first win of the season? I mean, fair enough to him. I mean, now they're out of the relegation zone as of now, so fair enough to him.
No, I completely appreciate that, mate. Barney, if I chuck it over to you on this, mate, obviously Steve Cooper, you guys saw him in the Championship when you was down there, didn't you? You had a couple of nice games against him when he was at Forest, I believe, as well. I mean, is he that much of a turgid manager that he just hit and hope, get a goal and then close up shop, or does he have a little bit about him when playing football?
It's actually a really good point, because when we were in the Championship, I remember this very well, and they beat us in our promotion season from the Championship in 2022. And it was just a classic case of them literally just doing that. And they had one moment of brilliance. They can play football, to their credit unto him. Then they did play good football, but it was a bit few and far between, if that makes sense. Is the case with Steve Cooper? Yeah, you pretty much summed up very well there, Kallum. I think, we had a few good results against them. Obviously, the 5-0 last season at the Cottage, and they obviously beat us at the City Ground. In terms of this game, though, I like Bournemouth. I like them a lot, and I think they'll finish about mid-table. But as Lewis said, when you look at those stats, I mean, 19 shots, 2 on target for Bournemouth. If you hadn't watched that game and you just looked at those, you just automatically think, yeah, Bournemouth win. I mean, they will be up there, but you just think the longer Leicester sort of went on not winning, by law of averages, it's going to click for them eventually. And I just felt that Bournemouth weren't in the races for this game, and it sometimes happens. I saw it in the Championship all the time. Teams like Swansea having the lion's share of the possession, and they still do, but they come unstuck sometimes. Some teams just have that way about them. They have all the ball, all the chances, but can just be undone by one moment of sloppiness or just one moment of quality. And I just think Leicester took advantage of just Bournemouth's lack of clinicalness, if you like.
No, I appreciate that, mate. Okie dokie. So, Barney, I'm going to stick with you. I'm going to throw you right in at the deep end into the lovely 3-2 Fulham game once that police car decides to do one and go away.
I thought that was.
Well, you live
It's
in
not me.
London, so you get the luxurious irons. Yeah, Tony, what you done? Are you going to rob a load of hubcaps, or are you going to nick a load of fridges, something like that?
I live in a village, so I don't hear sirens like that.
Oh God, yeah.
I just hear aeroplanes.
You hear mooing, don't you, mate?
Right.
No, I hear jets, and I hear jets normally most of the night, and they're quiet at the moment. But because I live in between 2 RAF bases, so
Oh God.
yeah, I get jets from one base and big aeroplanes from the other one. So yeah.
I don't
The
envy you
joys
on
of
that
living
one,
between
mate.
the joys of living between two American air bases.
Love it.
You ain't near Lakenheath, are you, by any chance?
I am. Yeah, well, I'm more near the Mildenhall base than I am Lakenheath, but yeah, Lakenheath's not too far away.
Yeah, not the nicest of bases to live near, to be fair, but I'll give you that one, mate. So yeah, Barney, let me throw you back in there, mate, on the Man City Fulham game. Obviously, another thriller, 5 goals. Definitely squeaky bum time for you guys a little bit because you did take the lead to start off with, and then where'd it go from there?
Well, before I begin, let's just talk about that assist from Raul Jimenez. I mean, to be honest with you, I almost forgot we lost. It was that good a performance. You know what? I walked away from that game honestly with you. Honestly, I felt proud. I really did. Because had Adama Traore, honestly, had his shooting boots on, he would have scored 5 against Manchester City. But I honestly think, I've watched it back 4 times now, I think his pace let him down, especially when he beat Walker. It only takes just a little distraction to knock someone with as much strength and power as he does off the ball, if you like. And I think on another day, if he can just hone those skills, he's going to put at least one, maybe those 2 chances away. But yeah, brilliant. We took the game to them. Masterful game plan. Anderson, Sanderberg, Iwobi, Nelson, terrific. I was quite surprised when Emil Smith-Rowe didn't start. I thought, okay, fair enough. And he started Sanderberg first, but I thought about it and thought, okay, he wants more physicality in midfield, which makes sense. But generally, if you don't take chances against Man City, we know what's going to happen. And they had moments of quality. You know, we switched up a little bit at times defensively, and they hit us. Good goals, by the way. You know, I'm not grumbling at, their goals. They're always going to punish you, Kallum, to be honest. But truth be told, if you said to me before the game, you're going to take City to a 3-2 win, you're going to have a lot of chances. It's just unfortunate just one player didn't have their shooting boots on, but I can't blame him. It's a team effort, isn't it? You just want to see a performance. And I did. I have nothing but pride in defeat.
No, I get where you're coming from, mate. I mean, Oil Boy has always been a bit of grief, ain't he? Wherever Adama Traore goes, he always seems to cause people problems with being pacey and physical, but he can't hit a barn door from 2 yards away. Tony, let me come to you on this one. I mean, like Barney said, does this game prove that if you give City a go, if you go at them, they are susceptible to concede goals and you can give them a good game, even on their own turf?
Yeah, absolutely. The problem is some teams turn up and they're frightened to attack them in case they get a hammering. But yeah, if you take the game to City, I think they probably prefer you to take the game to them, to be fair, because at least then they're having a game of football. They're not like just having they're not trying to break down 11 players behind the ball. But yeah, I mean, they've got no Rodri either, have they? So, I mean, that's a huge blow to them straight away. Obviously, I know they've got Kovacic who can step in for him. It's not a bad replacement, let's be honest. But yeah, I thought Fulham were unlucky. I really did, because the game, that was another game. I actually had City down to win that on the Super 6-3-0, believe it or not. But yeah, it wasn't the dominating performance from City. Apparently, Haaland didn't have the best of games. So yeah, I mean, look, okay, City have won it, but it could have so been different. Like Barney said, if baby old man had put some of his chances away, then he possibly scores, and they possibly go on and win the game. But I mean, when you signed him, did Fulham have to build an extra cupboard to store all his baby oil?
Love it. But yeah, he should have scored. I mean, there's no getting away from it.
Do you reckon he slips and slides into the training ground each week? Do you reckon they've got a slip and slide that goes into Craven Cottage? He just runs along, goes whee.
Love it.
He probably has the caption, well-oiled machine.
Oh no, that's his number plate on his car. That's his car
Yeah.
plate. All right, Louis, let me come to you. So just quickly on this one, mate. How glad are you that Adama Traore don't play for Spurs?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, because it seems like our wingers are like that. No, they got a bit of pace. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it seems sums up a lot of our players that can't really shoot a lot. But no, I mean, I feel like Adama Traore is a great player. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, shooting wise, he's not the greatest. Because otherwise, if Fulham would have won that game, I think Fulham were brilliant. I mean, they showed you how to go against City. I mean, they had a much higher XG than the expected goals than City did. I mean, Fulham completely showed everyone how to go to City away and do well. And Marco Silva done excellent. I think he couldn't have done much more. The game plan was superb. I think Fulham definitely deserved the point there. I mean, it's just City. I mean, what can you say? City this is why they win the league every year. They win games. They don't deserve to win because of moments of quality. Jeremy Doku outside the box, Bernardo Silva, not Bernardo Silva, Kovacic. All three of their goals come from outside the box because Fulham defended so well. They made it so hard for them to get into the box. So it's just moments of quality that is why City is so good. But as you said, if Adama Traore could hit a barn door, I mean, Fulham might be they'll be knocking on the Champions League door right now. But it's a shame.
Exactly, mate. No, I completely appreciate that, mate. So, Lewis, I'm going to stick with you, mate. We're going to jump to East London. We're going to go over to Stratford, to the only stadium with a running pitch on it as well. West Ham versus Ipswich. Actually turned out quite a good game, to be fair. 4-1, the final score for that one. I mean, West Ham had to get this win, didn't they? Because Lopetegui has definitely been feeling the pressure the last couple of weeks. So talk me through it, mate. Was it an improved performance, or was it just that Ipswich literally opened up at the back for them and felt sorry for them?
Well, I feel like it was an improved performance. I mean, West Ham it was definitely coming, let's be honest, because they've looked at the schedule and gone, all right, we've got Tottenham in a few weeks' time after the international break. This is the time we start playing good. So now we've got a bit of time. They've realised Spurs are up soon. Got to start playing well now. So then there you go. They've had 23 shots, 4 of them went in, and they were good. I mean, I feel bad for anyone that goes to West Ham because you need binoculars to see the game. But I feel like West Ham were definitely the better team. I feel Ipswich it's a shame for Ipswich because I rate McKenna. I rate him a lot. I think he's a brilliant manager. I think tactically he does well, but I think the Premier League's a whole different beast, unfortunately. And even teams like West Ham, who, I mean, I don't like to say nice things about West Ham, but I mean, let's be honest, they've got a decent core squad. I think Lopetegui's a decent manager, and they could go far if they wanted to. And so for a team like Ipswich, it's hard to go against teams like West Ham away when they play like they can. But I think West Ham were definitely a good team, created lots of chances, and players like Bowen and Antonio got going.
No, I fully appreciate that, Tony, let me come to you, mate. I mean, Liam Delap for Ipswich. I mean, his goal against West Ham made it, I think it was 4-3 for him at the moment. I mean, this guy's something special by the look of it. Another player out of the City Youth Academy who's gone on to do very well elsewhere away from the club. And I mean, Ipswich being very close to home for you, where you live now. I mean, what do you think? Do you think he's going to get a big move soon, or do you think he'll stick with Ipswich?
I mean, in seven Premier League games to get 4 goals, I mean, that's outstanding, isn't it? I'm surprised no other clubs came in from it, including ourselves. They got him for a steal of £14.9 million, which is a bargain. And if he goes on and scores, say, 10 to 15 goals a season, well, I'm sure he's going to score more than 10. So say he scores 15 goals, for argument's sake, by the end of the season, that could be enough that keeps Ipswich up in the league. Now, whether anybody comes in from next summer is a thing, but, you know, Ipswich will then can put a good valuation on his head, you know, because then he'll be proven that he can score at Premier League level. You know, the same with Cole Palmer. He left there, went to Chelsea, and look what he did for Chelsea last season. So, you know, maybe these players getting a move. I mean, Delap looks a good player. He's got the eye for goal. But then when you've been training day in, day out under Pep Guardiola and the quality of players at Man City you've got, then he's obviously going to learn a lot from that, you know. So he's obviously took that with him to Ipswich. And Ipswich are going to reap the rewards. Will Ipswich cash on him next year? It all depends what division they're in. If they're still in the Premier League, which I've still got a sneaky feeling they'll stay up. I would like them to stay up because not the fact that I only live about just under an hour away from Ipswich, but more the fact is, you know, as Newcastle fans, we have a special relationship with Ipswich because of obviously Bobby Robson. So every time we play Ipswich, we call it the Bobby Robson Derby. So it always becomes a special game between the two clubs. And, you know, even the Ipswich fans recognise us Newcastle fans, and, you know, we always have a special bond with them. So, you know, but yeah, I can see Ipswich. I would like to see Ipswich stay up and just, you know, I think they could stay up because they do play some decent stuff. It's just obviously, you know, defensive errors is costing them, or goalkeeping errors, trying to play out from the back. If they cut that out, then I think, yeah, they've got every chance of staying up because there is worse teams in the league than them, let's be honest. Wolves are worse than them. Southampton are worse than them at the moment. Palace aren't that great at the moment. So, you know, if they keep chipping away and picking up points, then I'm sure, you know, they could stay up. But, yeah, Delap will definitely be a player in demand. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's in the England team soon either.
Yeah, there's definitely got to be an opening there for him to be knocking on the door for Lee Carsley, because most likely he's had him at under 21s level. So, I mean, there's definitely a good player in there. He's got the pedigree. Whether he can do it consistently throughout the season is still to be seen. But like you said, 4 goals in 7 games, very good return. And he's probably going to be that person to lift Ipswich up the table to keep them in there. So, Barney, I'll come to you just quickly on this one, mate, and we'll go the same question I asked you about Southampton. Do you think Ipswich will survive?
A few more words for this one. There are worse teams than them. They will survive, yes. I do believe they have something about them. So I think they'll stay up just.
Okie dokie. Right, John, we're going to jump straight back to you, mate, on this one. It was your favourite game of the Saturday. Newcastle travelling down the road to Liverpool to go to Goodison Park. Talk us through this one, because it had a lot of hopes on it that potentially one team could make the breakthrough, but I don't think either team have a striker at the moment, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. Tony, by the way, but yeah. No, we don't. I mean, that's the problem. We've got no Wilson. We've got no Isak. They're both out injured. We've got a young kid on the bench called Asula, who, let's be honest, is not great. We bought him for £10 million plus £5 million add-ons. So to £15 million buy from Sheffield United. Very, very raw. And this is what I'm saying with the Delap situation. I'd rather have had Delap than I would have had Asula, if I'm honest with you, because the guy's never scored a goal in the Premier League. The only 2 goals he scored in his career to date was against Accrington Stanley for Derby County. So, yeah. But look, we went into this game with no strikers. Gordon playing up front. Obviously, Gordon going back to Everton, his old club. Getting the customary welcome as they always give. And then we get a penalty. Well, at first, Craig Pawson doesn't give it because he doesn't see it. And then you see the replay, and it's the way that Tarkowski gets a hold of Tonali and really throws him down to the ground. I'm thinking, no way of ours overturning this. They've got to send the referee to the monitor and say, look, come on, this is a penalty all day long. And that's exactly what they do. So Craig Pawson goes to the monitor, has a few looks. Yep, okay, I'm happy with that. Gives the penalty. And you're thinking, great, this is the time to go ahead, because just before that we had a shot from Bruno, which he shot towards goal, and it went past Pickford. And it was just unfortunate that Njau was on the lane and had his body in the way, and it clipped off his leg. He didn't know anything about it. Took a deflection off his leg and stayed out. So I'm sort of thinking, I can see Gordon's wanting to take this penalty, but I would rather somebody else took it, like say Fabian Schär. And but Gordon seemed confident. I thought, okay, he looks pretty confident. He's going to, and he put the ball down. Waited for the whistle, took his steps, hit it. And when it was saved by Pickford, I'm just like, what the hell? That was a poor penalty from Gordon. It really was poor. Everton had chances in that game. We had chances, but we just couldn't put them away. Second half.
Yeah, because I mean,
Gordon
even
had a great...
Everton had a goal chalked off, didn't they, as well?
They did in the first half, because it was definitely offside. Decore was offside, yeah. Not much offside, but he was offside, but enough to take it offside. So we did sort of get away with that. That was just before the penalty. But, yeah, I thought, second half, I thought we would have done better. But for all the possession we had, and I've always said possession, doesn't matter, you can have 100% possession during the game, but it does not win you a football match. Putting the ball in the back of the net wins the football match. And Gordon had that shot 10 minutes before the end, and if he keeps that down, he's either making Pickford save it or it's going in the back of the net. But instead he puts it over the bar, when you would love a striker like Isak or Wilson to be on the end of that, because that would have been in the back of the net. And we come off that game on a 0-0 draw. Very, very disappointing, let's be honest. It's a game we should have won, and I felt a game we should have got the 3 points out of it. Everton are not that great of a side, let's be honest. Calvert-Lewin claimed for a penalty, was never a penalty. He kicked Dan Burns' leg first of all at the back of the leg and then went down. There's no way you're getting that. If the referee had give the penalty, then VR probably don't overturn that decision. That's the thing. So the fact he didn't get it, the save from Nick Pope as well that he made from Calvert-Lewin, great save. So overall it was another disappointing draw. We just have not looked great. I mean, look, it was probably our best away performance since probably Burnley last season. But again, it's a great performance away, but we are not putting the ball in the back of the net. And something needs to be addressed. We keep taking Tonali off to bring Longstaff on. And I'm like, why do we keep taking a quality player in Tonali off? Yes, okay, he was a little bit on the sloppy side at times. But he's the type of player that you could have on the pitch, and then it might be the 80th minute and he just puts a pass through that unlocks that defence. You get on the end of it and you stick that in the back of the net. And you're taking that bit of creativity off. But yeah, overall, I was disappointed. I was disappointed with the result, because, like I say, it's a game we should have won. If we want to be in Europe this year, these are the games you have to win. Going to Everton, you have to beat these teams, because next we have Brighton at home. Then we got Chelsea away in the league. And then 3 days after that, we got Chelsea at home in the cup. So, and then after Chelsea, we've got Arsenal. So they're not easy games coming up. And this is why teams like Everton, no disrespect to Everton, but teams like Everton, we need to be going out there and picking up the 3 points off these teams if we want to be in Europe, because you can't guarantee we're going to go out and beat Chelsea. You can't guarantee we're going to go and beat Arsenal. And that's the thing. So we need to start winning these games. And I know some fans are on the back of Eddie Howe, and I can see why they are. The lack of signings again in the summer is killing us. The transfer window was an absolute shambles. And the fact that we haven't got a real backup striker to Kallum Wilson and Isak is shown again. We had this problem last season. You would have thought we would address that in the summer, and we didn't. And we've still got the same problem now. And that's if Wilson comes back. Wilson and Isak are due back after the international break. Now, I'll give Wilson 2 games before he's out of game for another 6 months, because it's guaranteed every time he comes back. When we played Nottingham Forest last year, I said to somebody, I tell you what, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Wilson gets injured in this game and doesn't come back. And what happened? He got injured in that game and had the whole of the season out, or came back, I think, just before the Brentford game. But yeah, I mean, look, he's just made of glass. We need rid of Wilson at the end of the season. His contract's up. Get rid. Because the guy can't stay fit. If he could stay fit, even if he got 20 or 25 games a season out of Wilson, he'd bang the goals in for fun, because he's a hell of a striker. He really is. He's one of the best strikers in the Premier League. But he just can't stay fit. That's his only problem.
Well, I mean, Tony, if you want, we've got Richarlison. You can have him. He's guaranteed to spend probably the same amount of time in the injury room with Kallum Wilson as well. So you might as well put them together as a pairing. That'd be wonderful for you. So, Barney, let me jump across to you on this one, mate. Do you think it's 2-point drops for Newcastle instead of 1 point gains? Do you echo what Tony is saying? Or yeah,
100%, Kallum, 100%. I think having watched Newcastle in the last couple of weeks, they are a side of quality, but they are missing a clinical side about them. And yes, obviously we can go on about win against them, but you did miss chances. You did miss quite some obvious glaring, that another chance you would have put them in. And I was actually quite surprised. And I thought, okay, maybe it's just a one-off, but I've been watching Newcastle quite a lot recently, and Gordon, he should have done better with that chance. We know he's a quality player, and he should be putting those kind of chances away. And you touched on something quite interesting, Tony, when you said he took Tonali off. I thought when a manager makes like a substitution and takes off that threat, it just kills that momentum. And I see it myself in my own team. And you think, why are you doing that? He's the one player who can make magic happen. I mean, at that moment, I thought, yeah, this game's going to peter out to a 0-0 draw. I mean, it wasn't a game of much quality, I didn't really think. On another day, I mean, I was quite surprised, actually, that decision for the penalty even went to the monitor. I thought it was so obvious. I didn't think it even needed to be checked. But it's just one of those things, and you get a chance, he has to put that penalty away. Because I always felt like, it's going to be one goal in it, either side to win it. So, yeah, 2 points dropped for Newcastle, definitely. And I think just a bit more improvement needed. You're lacking. You're definitely lacking in firepower, obviously, with injuries front.
Yeah, we are.
Exactly, mate, exactly.
We've got some of our fans questioning has Eddie Howe gone as far as he can with our club. That's the thing, And so, and I can see that sort of thing, but it all depends on how the owners view things. But, you don't know. If we go on a losing streak, then, yeah, maybe they do make a change or whatever. But I wouldn't have thought there'd be a change in the immediate future. Maybe at the end of the season, they may make a change. Depends where we finish. I know the owners want Europe this season, so obviously that's got to be the case for them. But one thing I struck on Saturday when I listened to Pickford's interview after the game, and they said that, about guessing the way for the penalty, and he says, well, and this was quite interesting from Pickford. He says, when I've watched Gordon's penalties, he says the last two he took, he says he struck them to the right. So he says this time I thought, well, it must be going to go to the left, so I'll stay staying on my line. I'll go to the left, and I'll probably have a chance of getting near it. And he was absolutely right.
Nah, exactly. So, I mean, players are creatures of habit, so you have to definitely learn from what they do game on game. Lewis, let me jump straight into Sunday's kickoffs for you, mate. And we're going to Villa Park, which had all the makings of actually quite a good game, I thought, Aston Villa Man United. And if anything, it just continued the trend that Newcastle and Everton had set the day before. What did you think of this one, mate?
It's a bit of a snooze fest, really, wasn't it? I mean, it's not what I predicted. I mean, the most fun I got that game was when they did a Strictly Come Dancing routine, and for one of their free kicks, and they had about 5 times going up to the ball, then backing out. Don't know what was going on. That was about as much fun as I got out of that game, because it was such an even game. It was probably the most even game I've watched in quite a while, because they were just, I would say, going punch for punch. They weren't. They were just sitting in their own like sides of the ring, not really doing anything about it. I mean, I think as a United fan, after what's happened recently, you'd probably definitely take a point against Villa at Villa Park. I definitely would. As a Spurs fan, I'll take the 0-0 right now. I mean, I think that's a great point for most teams. I think, and United definitely an improvement of what we've seen over the last few weeks. And I mean, for Villa, they probably could be a bit disappointed about that they weren't as good, because if they played as good as they could have, I mean, they only had one shot on target. If they got more shots off, they definitely could have got 3 points in that game. But I thought it was, I thought in the 63rd minute when Duran came on, I was like, oh, well, here we go then. I mean, they took 63 minutes to finally bring him on, and then now he's going to score. But he didn't. I don't know how United stopped him. Fair enough. Might have to learn off that. But no, quite a boring start to my Sunday, so to speak.
No, I completely get that, mate. Barney, let me jump over to you, mate, because there was something quite controversial that Ten Hag did before the game, and that was to drop both Martinez and De Ligt as his centre-back pairing. I mean, he's dropped nearly 120 million worth of centre-backs, and he's brought in Harry Maguire, who can't stay fit, and Johnny Evans, who is the wrong side of a gravestone at the moment. So, I mean, what does that kind of say about your record centre-backs and all that you're still having to rely on Johnny Evans?
To be honest, to be brutally honest, I think it just shows just a lack of awareness by the manager. It shows a lack of confidence in the players you have. And I think it's quite disrespectful, really. I mean, I couldn't imagine Marco dropping our back to him. It's just unthinkable. I mean, a manager needs to have, an established back line. You don't just keep chopping and changing. I mean, it was a really quite boring game, to be honest. I was watching Villa quite a lot because we play them next. So I was interested to see, how Duran forms, because he's been on fire recently. Villa are a really good side. I actually expected them to win this, being at home at Villa Park. But Manchester United, what's happened to them? I mean, at the moment, they're just a shadow of that kind of fearsome side that they once were, to be blunt. And I was talking to a Man United friend, and he wasn't really happy about those two centre-backs being switched around at all, to be honest. I thought it was a very weird move. I expected goals in this game, so I was quite surprised there were none. Probably a better point for United than Villa.
Yeah, no, exactly, mate, exactly. And Tony, if I come over to you as well, I mean, when you look at United's team, half of them ended up on yellow cards of their starting lineup, and they're playing two right backs, right back and left back. I mean, is the club in such disarray and lack of direction that Ten Hag will have his job by Christmas? Because they can't score at the moment, they can't defend at the moment. Where do they go from here?
Well, I mean, they said, Ten Hag's next two games will be crucial. Well, Harry Maguire saves them against Porto. They got a drab 0-0 draw with Villa, which I would have expected Villa to beat them, in all honesty. I mean, look, I'm not going to lie, as a Newcastle fan, I'm absolutely laughing at what's happening with Man United. I think it's absolutely great what's happening with Man United, because, and the problem is Sky Sports seem to be so far up their backside still, and I think these people at Sky Sports are forgetting that Man U are no longer the biggest draw that they used to be. Years ago, under Fergie, that's all gone. They are not the big draw no more. I mean, we played them last season, the Carabao Cup. We started 6 full backs in our team because we were injury ravaged. And we beat them 3-0 at Old Trafford. And they had a strong side out that day with Bruno Fernandes. And we took them apart 3-0. Now, after that game, and for the next 24, 48 hours, nothing on Sky to say, oh, well, actually, Newcastle started with 6 full backs and actually did really well to beat Man United. No, it was all Man United in crisis. Man United, look at this, they've lost last night, they're in crisis. Look, not that we had a weak team out there and we still took them apart. Now, the other week, Spurs, you quite handsomely beat them 3-0, and you could have scored 5 or 6 in that game. And that result, if you'd won that game 5 or 6-0, nobody would have blinked an eyelid, because I would have said, oh, well, that's deserved, because Spurs deserved that win. But again, Sky Sports, after you beat them, no credit towards Spurs for the way they played and how well they played. It's all about, oh, Man U are still in a crisis. Or how long has Ten Hag got? And I'm like, hang on a minute. Spurs have just hammered you. Give them some credit for at least, stop bloody going on about Man United all day long. Give the credit to the team that's just beat them, Spurs. But no. They're all Man United on there. And, the guy isn't that great of a manager. We looked at him before we got Eddie Howe in. And obviously Man U at the time were looking for a manager as well. And I remember Ten Hag saying, I don't want the Newcastle job. I want to go to Man United. And I look at that now and think, we had a lucky escape. Because, sometimes these managers play well, are great managers in Holland, but they come to the Premier League and they can't do it, except someone like Van Gaal, who is a quality manager, let's be honest. Because as Newcastle, we've been on the wrong end of Van Gaal as well when he was at AZ Alkmaar. But yeah, look, I just think Man U are no longer the big draw that they are. And to be honest with you, if the way they're playing at the moment, they could quite easily be dragged into a relegation battle. Their next game is a 6-pointer because they got Brentford. Now, the thing is, the way Brentford are scoring early, if they score early against Man United, there's going to be a meltdown with their fans on Twitter, isn't there? But I would absolutely laugh, and I said this to my viewers, I'll do this. I says, if Man United get relegated, and yeah, I've said this now, if Man U get relegated, I will have a live stream and we will have a party. We will have the beers going. We will have the music playing because we will have a damn good party. All for the demise of Manchester United being relegated to the Championship, and they can take Niagara, Old Trafford Falls with them to the Championship. As long as the fans that are coming up from Rotherham or wherever don't forget to take their wetsuits because they'll bloody well need them. Sorry, but I hate Man United to a T. I absolutely hate Man United, and I just love the way they are at the moment. And if they got relegated, that would be the icing on the cake with a cherry on the top.
No, I get what you mean. I do love that though, mate. I love your enthusiasm when it comes to that. Right, so let's jump on to our next game, the second game of Sunday. Barney, I'm going to come to you because I know how much you love Chelsea, mate. They are your secret team. That you are. I do. Is that a blue shirt underneath your Fulham shirt that I see?
No, this is a red shirt.
So we go to Stamford Bridge and. I must be colourblind then. I must be colourblind.
It's not got my new badge on, has it?
We go to Stamford Bridge. Oh, God, no. I think he's got a Forest badge on probably after this game.
Love it.
Right. But yeah, so another game that continued the trend of our draws from this weekend because, Jesus Christ, it was quite a dull game after... Well, Forest didn't do great last weekend, but obviously Chelsea had their scoring boots on against Brighton. So talk me through what happened here, because this was quite disappointing probably from their point of view.
It was disappointing. Oh, quick disclaimer, there's only one team in Fulham. But anyway, back to the game. It was a good feisty game. I think after obviously Forest's defeat to us, they want a response. I remember the game actually mostly for that ridiculous handball by Ward-Prowse where he practically rugby tackled it and stopped the ball flowing forward. And that was a pretty crazy moment, to be honest. But, it's about playing the dark arts of the game, isn't it? And he did it to a T. He took one for the team. Chelsea had been scoring for fun. Forest are a decent side, though Chris will hate me saying that. And, they'll finish about mid-table, and they gave Chelsea a really good game. Chris Wood on fire again. You'd expect more from Chelsea being at home, and they signed so many players, quite frankly. They have quality all over the pitch. I mean, I saw them against West Ham a few weeks back. They were just insanely good. And definitely 2 points dropped for Chelsea. I mean, if you look at the stats, they had, I think, 22 shots, Chelsea, 8 on target. And then Forest had 9 and 16, I think. So on the looks of it, it was a decent game. So you would have thought more goals in that. So I think Forest will very much take a point from that, considering they were down to 10 men.
No, exactly. I mean, Lewis, do you echo what Barney's saying? Did you have a lot of expectations from this game, or do you think Nottingham Forest will be the more happy team coming away with a point from Stamford Bridge?
No, the Forest definitely be the happier team. I mean, to be honest, you look at it 1-1, bit of boring, but I thought this game was absolute cinema, to be honest. I thought it was actually a quality game. I mean, red cards for handballs, I mean, I don't mind a bit of that. Chelsea dropping 2 points at home, I don't mind a bit of that. Nico Williams halving Cucurella on the touchline and taking out Enzo Maresca, I don't mind a bit of that, you know. The game was absolutely quality. Yeah, that is cinema. To me, that is absolutely top cinema. I mean, Chelsea were the better team. 22 shots, dominated the ball. Look, for Chelsea, you'll be disappointed that they've had a decent start to the season, to be fair. A lot of people thought, oh, Maresca will be out before Halloween. Well, he's not going to be. I mean, I feel like he's doing a pretty good job over there. But that's definitely 3 points that they could pick up, and they would be 1 point off top if they pick those points up. But, I mean... yeah, I feel like that game was actually a quality game, to be honest. I wish Sky Sports picked that one. I mean, I know on paper he wouldn't, but that one was absolutely quality. I mean, Nuno gets his... I swear Nuno Espirito Santo has been booked every game so far this season. So he might be getting... show up on Sky Sports to show up. He's already got 6 bookings. Quite a dangerous player. But no, I feel like it was... I feel like it was actually a pretty good game. I quite enjoyed it. For Sunday at 2 p.m, it was a bit of shenanigans going on.
No, I really appreciate that, mate. And Tony, do you reckon there's enough players in that Chelsea squad where Newcastle could go and try and prize maybe a striker off of them or a forward, something like that, to help you guys going forward? Or do you think Newcastle don't have a pot to piss in at the moment?
Well, I mean, look, we needed a right winger in as well. And the right winger I would have gone for would have been Madueke, but that would have been before the season started. We should have gone in there for him on loan. But now that he's doing well for Chelsea, there's no way he's going anywhere now. This is the annoying part, because we've got the money, but we can't spend it. That's the problem. We didn't buy anybody in the transfer window apart from obviously Asula. So the way I'm looking at it is, we need to go out in January and bring a striker in. Now that's going to be hard, because January is a hard window, as everybody knows. But the problem is, and like Paul Mitchell said, the sporting director, he said, obviously apart from like the obviously likes of Bruno, Gordon, Isak, you know, and Tonali, but you look at other players, and obviously apart from Livramento and Lewis Hall, realistically, if you look at any of those players, is there any of them players that you get 25 million for? Not a chance. You won't get 25 million for Almiron. Man who runs around like a headless chicken and does nothing all game. Has got no right foot. You've got Jacob Murphy, who, look, he has been great for us, but he's not the standard you want to be going to the next level, so you wouldn't get 25 million for him. Longstaff's out of contract at the end of the season. We are trying to put him on another 2-year deal just to see if anybody does buy him, then we get that 100% profit, which helps you PSR. So technically, you know, we're a bit stuck, because we've got a lot of players still from the previous regime ownership, and because of obviously PSR strangling us, we've got to be careful what we spend, which is so annoying. I think new owners, and I'm not saying it's just because it's Newcastle, but I think any club that's taken over, the new owner should get a brand new, that's it, the slate's wiped clean. You got a total new slate now, and you start from scratch that way. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But there is some support, the cash injection for January. But hopefully with the, you know, now that the Premier League's been found to be unlawful on some of the rulings, thanks to Manchester City, our mates in Manchester, then, it looks like we can go out and get sponsorships in. But I don't think our owners will go out and go mad on sponsorships. But it wouldn't surprise me to see some coming through the door, and it wouldn't be surprising if our owners actually take action against the Premier League for loss of revenue for the last 3 years.
There's definitely got to be a talking point on that one going forward, mate, and I'm sure we'll get lots more of that with the ongoing case against City as well with the Premier League, because I know it's a bit of backwards and forwards at the moment, ain't it? Premier League wins, City win, Premier League wins, City wins. Who's guilty, who's not guilty, who's read something wrong, who said something wrong. It's like a bit of bitching in the playground and all that. You don't know where you stand, where you don't stand, and it's like being back at school, to say the least. But so, Lewis, I'm going to throw this one to you, mate. The last game of the weekend, and I know how much you'd love to talk about this, and you already look like you want to cry, mate. And obviously, I'm neutral tonight, so I will leave it all to you on this one, mate. Obviously, we travelled down to Brighton to go and play at the Amex Stadium. Not somewhere that Spurs have had great luck within the last couple of years. It weren't a bad start by Spurs for the first 45, was it? It kind of reminded me of how we was at Man United. Talk me through what happened in the first half, and then try not to cry for the second half, mate.
Well, I mean, I'll try not to cry, but yeah, I think the first half it was champagne football. I feel like we were quality. I mean, I don't really. Yeah, that seems like so long ago now. Seems like weeks ago we were like that. I was how I was in front of my TV going, "This is a title charge." No, I wasn't, but I feel like we were really good. I mean, first half I was like, "Wow, Ange Postecoglou, you make me smile, mate," and we were brilliant. We totally cut through Brighton like they weren't even there. We were creating loads of chances. Dominic Solanke doing all the running as per usual. Great signing, I think that is. I think we were brilliant, totally dominated the midfield battle, and it looked like our defence was going to keep a clean sheet. But I mean, the first half it was quality. I think we were brilliant. Even Timo Werner got a goal contribution. So when that happens, you know, to be fair, that was kind of foreshadowing what was to come, really, wasn't it? But I think in the second half, well, there's not really much there's no words that can describe the pain and frustration that followed, because I don't know. I mean, it still makes me so frustrated how I really don't understand how you can just play so well in the first half, and then second half, I guess Basuma was giving out some balloons to his fellow friends, because I have no idea. Well, I'm still so frustrated as to what I witnessed, because to concede 3 goals in 20 minutes, I mean, to even do that against Man City or Liverpool, I think that's just shocking. So, no disrespect to Brighton, but to do it at Brighton is even worse. I mean, Brighton, they weren't even that good. I think it was just us making them look good, because I mean, it was just all 3 goals down to defensive errors. The first one, Doji, I don't really know what to say. All we got to do is put the ball out for a throw in. It's really not the end of the world. But no, he's decided that he'll play Yankuba Minter through on goal. Okay. And then a few minutes, what was it, 10 minutes later, Jorginho has a run through. He's got 2 centre-backs jockeying him, and he decides to slip through them like they're not even there. All you have to do is just body him a little bit, even shoulder to shoulder. No, you've let him slip through like he's not even there. And then the third goal, I mean, the TV was in serious danger when I saw Romero was just he's attracted to the ball, like it's like there, like he's just completely watched the ball go from a throw in to the back of the net and done absolutely nothing about it. He's not picked up Danny Welbeck making a run. No one has. There was just I'm looking at the ball in amazement, like, oh my god, the football's moving. No, stop it. Just the ball was coming in for a cross. Just stop the cross. And then it was too late. We couldn't do anything about it. As per usual, Ange Postecoglou makes subs too late. And then you've gone, oh, well, we need a goal. What do? I sub off 2 midfielders for 2 midfielders. What quality. What a great idea that is, mate. You need a goal. But no, let's try and win the midfield battle. A bit late for that. I mean, and then taking off Maddison for Mikey Moore in the 85th minute, because I need some creativity in the last 5 minutes, because that's going to happen. But no, I think still frustrated, and Yeah, it's just a very dark day.
No, I get where you're coming from, mate. Barney, if I jump over to you, mate, I mean, I think from this game, and like Lewis has said, it's definitely a game of Spurs' own making sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
The Brighton, don't
Spursy.
get me wrong, they played very well in that second half, but it was a catalogue of errors by Spurs' back line,
Well, I'll tell you this.
which made it all so much easier for Brighton to do anything.
Well, exactly that, Kallum. I mean, I watched this game especially, and I was speaking to Harry about it afterwards, and you, Lewis, touched on that really well. He did make the subs too late. When I thought Brighton were actually coming back into the game and showing belief, you want to kind of, you don't do what he did, basically, like for like. That's just not what you do. I thought, Johnson Madison 2-0 up, Spurs in control, heading for the 6th straight win. Happy days. But you just know one mistake and it's 2-1, and it gives the other side belief. And for you to concede so soon after half-time, I mean, God knows what Ange said at half-time. I don't know. You thought Spurs were going, press on. Make that kind of, control that they had, fluid football in the first half count. Yeah, you're right, Karen. Brighton had a good second half, yeah. But you gave them belief to get back in the game. There's no bones about that. Defensive errors, the first goal, I don't know what he was doing. You were right, Lewis. I mean, why didn't he just put it out for a throw-in? Just silly. Poor performance, to be in such a commanding position. Good goals by Spurs. I always rate Johnson and Madison, but you give a good side like Brighton any chance and they'll take it. And that's what I think happened.
No, exactly, mate. And Tony, let me bring you in on this because obviously Minter is an ex-Newcastle player, isn't he, I believe?
Yes.
So, I mean, that's someone who you did let go in the summer and probably someone you guys could do with now. He's probably better than Sula. He's probably better than Jacob Murphy, I would say, arguably. I know probably not as proven in the Premier League, but it's another one that Brighton have actually won on and a Premier League team have lost out on.
Yeah, I mean, we bought him from a Danish side last season, sent him on loan to Feyenoord, had a cracking season under Arne Slot in Rotterdam. Goals and assists to his name. We were looking forward to him come back, thinking, great, okay, let's see what he can do in pre-season. Some fans were like, should he go back on loan or should we keep him? But then the PSR thing started and we had to sell 2 players, which doesn't help our cause. PSR was not brought in for you to sell your academy players. But this is what it's gone down to. So we sold him to Brighton for 30 million, considering we only paid 5 million for him. So that was a good bargain, a good profit for us. Although not the profit we wanted because we wanted to keep him. And then we sold Elliot Anderson to Forest for 35 million, but took Vlachodimos for 20 million. So basically, again, helping Forest out and them helping us out. Because when we sold Mint A, we only had we still had a £4 million shortfall, so we had to sell Anderson. Another good player who's just getting Forest Player of the Month for them. Forest fans absolutely love him. But Minter, I mean, look, he's done well for Brighton. That new manager they've got, he's only 31, isn't he? And what a fantastic manager he looks already. And, kept his team up in the Bundesliga last season, St. Pauli, and then obviously Brighton took him on, and he's an unknown quantity. But I tell you what, he's going to rattle a few big name managers this season. I mean, when you think Lewis, it's crazy the captain Lewis dunks older than the manager, But I mean, look, fair play to the manager. He's doing well for Brighton, and I was shocked because I thought, well, 2-0, I thought, yeah, Spurs have got this, but 2-0 can be a dangerous scoreline. And then when they hit back straight away in the second half, I thought, oh, this game on 2-1 now. And, Brighton are a good side. Matoma had a very good game, I thought, for Brighton on Sunday. Him and Minty down the wings were terrific. They've got obviously Welbeck in the middle as well. But they've got talent all around the team, really. Let's be honest. And they seem to bring in players They seem to go out and buy players and bring them in, and bring them on. Like, they've done it with Caicedo in the past, bought him for 4 million, sold him for 115 million quid. And Brighton seem to do things the right way, even when they want to bring on. They were even still going for the win, like even to score more goals by bringing like Enciso on, who's an attacking midfielder, and he's got a strike on him. But I was quite shocked by Spurs the way they just brought on midfielder for midfielder. I thought, hang on, I thought you want to get something out of this game. If you want something out of the game, you don't bring for like. You get more attackers on, As Southgate should have done in the summer for England in that final when we got the leveller. Instead of playing sit back and sit on the 1-1, no, put the attackers on and go for it. And even if we go down getting beat like that, at least we can say, well, at least he's tried, But yeah, that you don't bring like for like on if you're going to try and get a goal. You want to take off somebody and put on a more attacking threat so you can get that goal or get at least a chance on goal. That Mikey Moore looks all right when he come on, doesn't he? But again, probably brought on far too late, to be fair.
No, exactly, mate, exactly. And I mean, Brighton do have a way of turning out great players, making a fortune back off of them. They do have that data-led approach where it's going. And at the moment, I mean, Spurs were on their 5-game winning run, and me and Lewis were loving it. And now we've been being brought back down to earth and realised that our style does have its faults, and definitely we got punished for it ultimately by the better team on the day. I would say that they a game of two halves, but ultimately their half won it. So let's call it a night there, guys. Obviously, thank you very much, everyone. It has been Game Week 7 review. Next week we do have Game Week 8 on. Obviously, I have to thank everyone for tuning in tonight, and I have to thank my wonderful guests tonight. I have taken up an hour and 20 minutes of their lives. They will never get back, but I do really appreciate it. So if I go to Lewis first, who is part of the Scarfy Spurs Talk team with me. Cheers for tonight, mate. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so on Twitter, Romero17 season, I said there, I don't post too much. I mean, the last thing I posted was probably bragging about Timo Werner assist, and look how that came out. So might have to stay quiet for now.
Lovely stuff, mate. And Tony, thanks very much for coming on, mate. It has been a pleasure, and it's actually, let me just bring you in quickly because I know we was all speaking in the green room before the game about the Man City stuff. You had some really good thoughts on it. Can you just give us all an insight into that just quickly, mate, before we find out where everyone can find you?
Yeah, I mean, look, we know Man City's won some parts of this case. Other parts of it, obviously, the Premier League's kept to. But the more important part is it's the APTs, which is actually unlawful. And it was brought in because as soon as our takeover went through, we've seen the emails come out. The leaked email that a CEO of a certain club, we think it's Leicester, but we're not 100% sure, wrote to Premier League clubs saying we need to have a meeting and get a vote in for party transactions. In other words, to stop sponsorships coming in. And they clearly put it on there saying the Gulf state as well. So that aims at us and at Man City. Now, the way I read that is, that to me is a form of racism because you're actually targeting a specific part of the world. Now, we know a lot of the people who have been backing the Premier League have been a lot of the American-led owners, the likes of Fulham, Arsenal. We knew Man United would be up there, Liverpool as well, because they're American-owned as well. But I think it's great that City have done this. Now, we, along with us, was Chelsea, Forest, Everton, all witnesses for Man City. I think this is huge that it's unlawful because I think it had to be done, and well done to City. Some of our supporters have been saying, well, why are our owners quiet and not doing much about why we're not challenging the rules? I think that explains why, because we've been acting as a witness for City in this case. So probably we didn't want to say too much. I know the Premier League want a meeting next week to discuss this and try and make new rules up, but that will take 14 clubs to vote it in, and I don't think you're going to get 14 clubs voting that in. And this is the thing. I mean, you know, yes, okay. Now it opens up, like, say, for instance, if our owners wanted to go out and say get a sponsor in, say a training ground sponsor for £60 million for the season, sponsor our training ground, we could do it without putting it through the Premier League for approval. Apparently, we have had sponsorship deals in over the summer with the Premier League. Nothing's been touched on them, same as Man City's. If that's the case, I think our club need to go back and sue the Premier League for this. Richard Masters has a lot to do with this, let's be honest. If people don't know a lot about when our takeover happened, I'll just briefly go through it. We had what was called a CAT case, which was a tribunal. Basically, you don't normally get a football club doing that. It's normally like competition law for like retailers and businesses and things like that. And that was brought by a couple of fans of ours, and they actually took it to Mike Ashley and said, look, they met with his sidekick Justin Barnes and said, look, if you run this before arbitration, you're guaranteed to get the takeover through. And obviously he went back and told him, so hired lawyers. So we had this tribunal. We knew arbitration was going to be the January 2022. We had this tribunal. Then the barrister acting for Newcastle United, which was Robert Jowell, is one of the top barristers in the second top barrister in the country for competition law. Things he said in that, and it was quite shocking, like that the Premier League actually wanted to kick Newcastle out of the league 6 months before that case went to that tribunal. Now, a lot of people probably don't know that, but the Premier League were trying ways to kick us out of the league. Now, that's unfair, and that's not very good from the Premier League. And again, that falls on the head of Richard Masters again, because I think Richard Masters tries to protect that Big Six cartel. And I wouldn't be surprised if you delve deep into his life. I wouldn't be surprised if he's been taking backhanders, because prior to that takeover happening as well, Behind Sports, who's owned by Khalifi, who owns PSG, wrote to 19 Premier League clubs and told them all to block the takeover. Now, that's collective lobbying, and that's illegal in this country. You can't do that. And that email was proved as well. But after that tribunal, that CAT case, it was funny how our takeover went through. So I think the Premier League panicked and said, oh, look at the evidence I've got. Because one of the fans who was bringing it said he's got that much evidence against the Premier League, it could ruin them. And so maybe the Premier League saw this CAT case and thought, do you know what? We haven't got a leg to stand on here. And I think the judge of that case said, because he said after it, he says, I'll go away and have a think, and then we'll see about whether there can be a full case or not. And I think he's come back and said there's a full case, and I think the Premier League has said, look, rather than go dragging it through the courts and everything, let's just put it through for you. Because it was strange how quick that went through a week later. You know, and it was the most watched on YouTube, that CAT case, because it was live on YouTube. And it was the most watched ever CAT case because there were so many millions tuning into it, not just in this country, but worldwide, to see what was happening. And I think deep down, if Man City win this case of the 115 charges, Richard Masters has to resign, because that man, I cannot stand that man. And the sooner that man leaves the Premier League, the better, because the Premier League will be a better place without Richard Masters. Peter Scudamore was a far better chief CEO than what Richard Masters is. Masters is very smarmy, very, to me, just comes across as somebody who, you know, he'll help out a certain group of people, but not others. And he'll do everything to line his own pockets. So the sooner that man resigns, the better.
No, I really appreciate that, Tony. Thanks for your insight on that, mate. So where can everyone find your content mate, if anyone wants to go and check you out.
Yeah, so you can find me on It's All Black and White TV. It's on the back there behind me. All sorts of content I do. Obviously I do all Newcastle content, but I do the odd content if I go to an England game or something like that. So I'm looking to go to maybe a League Two game at the weekend, so I may do a vlog from there. So do keep an eye out for that one. But yeah, I do me pre-matches, do pre-match shows where I bring the lineups, do reviews and things like that. So I do all sorts. So do check it out, and thank you very much for having me on.
No, it's very much appreciated, mate, by myself and the team. And Barney, you're becoming a regular fixture like me now, mate. So thanks very much for coming on and putting up with me again for this weekend. This week, where can everyone find you, mate?
Well, thank you for having me on, and it's good to talk to you, Lewis, and you, Tony. Big up to you all, and you can find me on X, Twitter, Ambrose Barnaby. Follow me there, and make sure you follow all these fantastic guys, and I look forward to seeing you all again on a future show.
Lovely stuff. And if anyone's interested in finding out where I am, you can find me here every Wednesday. You're going to be stuck with me for the rest of the season, so please bear with me. Some weeks will be good, some weeks will be bad. You can find me at Park Lane Podcast as well with Luke, Wes, Winnie and Dave. We have got a special show this weekend that me and Dave will have a conference call about tomorrow night. So we've got some special stuff coming up for that. But you can catch us on a Sunday night and a Wednesday. I think Dave's live with the Fat Pod lads at the moment, doing FPL stuff. So if you want to go and win some money as well, go and check that out. And obviously, thank you to Harry for bringing me onto the team this year. So you can find Harry at Scarfy Spurs Talk or Harry Scarf on Twitter. But thanks very much, guys. I hope you enjoy the international break, and we'll be back next Wednesday. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, bye-bye.